let's go ahead and talk about the London game. The Jets technically at the Dolphins, but you're not at the Dolphins, right?
That sucks.
Yeah,
so
you
much.
lose a home game to go to London.
Yeah.
A team that could really use a home game right now.
Well, I don't know. They didn't play very well at home.
That's fair. This game, the Dolphins are dogs in this one. 1.5 point underdogs.
Home dogs.
Let's talk about Fitzpatrick and Tannehill. Who do you like more in this game? And then who would you start? Would you start either of them? Because I probably would not right now.
I would not start either one of them. The Jets' passing defense is fantastic. You're not going to want to go up against that with Ryan Tannehill. And you never know. You really don't know in these London games which team is truly prepared for it. And sometimes you get what happens on that Thursday night game where there's kind of a blowout. And you just can't predict which direction it goes. So I tend to steer clear, especially in a game like this where the Jets' defense is pretty good against the run, fantastic against the pass. Miami's offense has been terrible. And, there's just not much to love here from a fantasy perspective.
There have been a lot of people who, Tannehill's the guy that was drafted to be a starter for a lot of people. So they want to know, do they play Tannehill or do they play Colin Kaepernick?
No, not Colin Kaepernick.
Do they play Derek Carr?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over Tannehill?
Yes. 100%.
They play Blake Bortles over Tannehill?
I don't mind it.
Yeah. No, I mean,
the
Indy DBs outside of Vonta Davis are just destroyed. So, yeah, play
All right,
Bortles.
Guys, put the Miami Dolphins wide receivers in order of fantasy production this week. We're talking Landry, Parker, Matthews.
I think it's about the same for me still. It's going to be Landry, Matthews, Parker. Parker's role is growing. I think Matthews will diminish over time, but for now, he's still the number 2.
Any reason to believe that Marshall doesn't continue his target assault and good production?
No, he's one of the guys that he's probably the guy I would be the most confident starting. I would rather start Marshall over Landry this week.
Okay, Jason, you're the lowest on Jordan Cameron. Is there any reason why you're down on him this week compared to?
There's two. I know it's really early in the season, but there's two defenses that I see in the league right now that I don't want to go up against with the tight end. It's Baltimore. It's the Jets. So that's the reason. I don't like the matchup at all.
Okay, that's very fair. You had a reason, and it was a good one. All right, the Giants are facing the Bills. The Bills are 5.5 point favorites.
Oof.
In a surprisingly high-scoring Vegas odds number. As far as this week actually has a lot lower scoring matchups than the normal week. So it's not that they're seeing a super high offensive output in Vegas, but higher than most of the other games in the league, which matters. So,
I have Karlos Williams as my number 3 running back this week.
I do not blame you at all.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you you were going with that. It was going to be like, you are a crazy person.
No, Karlos Williams looks the part.
And actually, Jason has him number 4. I hadn't seen your rankings because yours came online like
late last night,
a little bit after ours. But you and I have a very similar thoughts on him. I also don't blame you, Mike, for having him a little bit lower because we haven't seen him start. But the matchup's good. The threat of Taylor running and the fact that Williams has been so productive, I think you just roll Karlos out there, right?
The reason that LaShawn McCoy was drafted so high was because this is a running team that's got no fear of giving their star running back 20, 25, 30 carries if the game will allow it. And if Shady is gone, they're going to give it to someone that has looked more talented on the field than Shady anyways.
Now, I had a question yesterday come through our inbox, and it was basically a dynasty. It was a dynasty league, but he was asking, is there any way Karlos Williams takes the job this year? And I want people to know that that's impossible.
No.
It's outside of injury, it's absolutely impossible. They traded the farm, and they gave a new contract to LaShawn McCoy. And honestly, McCoy, it's not like McCoy hasn't looked good when he's been healthy. It's just it's been very limited amounts of health.
And also, Rex Ryan is a loyalist to a fault sometimes. If he's made this promise to Shady to get him the ball, then that's his guy, and
they're winning too. They're winning games. So,
Eli Manning or Tyrod Taylor
today in this game, I would go. You got to go Taylor.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just and honestly, it's less about. It's just the matchup. The defense for the Bills is so much better than the defense for the Giants.
Are you playing any Giants running backs?
The only running back that's
with
playable
confidence,
would be
no.
Vereen. You might be able to flex Vereen, but I would prefer to not
I'm
have
curious where
a Giants running back on my roster.
Where do we have? I'm scrolling. Yeah, I'm the highest on Rashad Jennings, and
Okay.
I have him at 32.
And speaking to the tight ends real quick, which we did some research on Larry and his last name, and now I can't remember it.
It's
Donnell.
Donnell.
Yeah. We had a hybrid of our two mispronunciations to be Donnell.
Yeah, I think most people say Donnell, but
Yes.
it's Donnell, and we found him saying his own name.
So we got that cleared up.
Yeah, now
Foot
we're only
Clan.
mispronouncing about 8 to 10 other names on a regular
The
basis.
Jaguars.
And Charles Clay this week.
Aguilar.
The Aggie. Just
Aggie.
call him Aggie. Charles Clay, I love him this week. The Giants are if people we know the Raiders are giving it up to tight ends. So are the Giants.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I love Charles Clay.
Charles Clay, we'll talk about him shortly, but he is very, very high on my tight end list. You'll see that on our rankings page on the website. So let's talk about the Panthers going to the Bucs. Very low over-under on this game, a 40-point. You know, as you might expect, you know, the kind of game plan for the Panthers has been, you know, ground and pound, ball control, beat them up with your defense. Now, their defense has been good. I really liked them in this game. However, did you guys see Luke Kuechly, the news this morning?
I did not.
I did not.
He's not practicing. He is going to see another neurologist.
That sucks.
And
bad
he
news.
just had a review yesterday or today that obviously didn't go well. So that's really unfortunate for them. They're 4th against the run, 15th against the pass. Very good defense, but a bummer to lose your kind of stalwart in the back. So, and they traded for Jared Allen this week too.
Yeah. And so is there
So let's talk about Cam Newton.
Okay,
Let's talk about him for a second because people rest of season, where do you put Cam Newton?
Pretty high. I think he's running the ball the way that I had hoped when we had that kind of
Yes.
fantasy face-off. He's getting back to running the ball. He's getting back to scoring touchdowns, and I think he's going to continue that the rest of the year, especially with the loss of Kelvin Benjamin. So I like him. I would definitely put him in standard, 4-point throwing quarterback leagues. I think he'd be my number 3.
Cam Newton or Tyrod Taylor this week?
Ooh,
I can tell you what your rankings say.
I'm going to go Tyrod
I'm
Taylor
gonna go
this
with
week,
Taylor.
but I like both of them a lot.
Okay. Well, then I won't tell you what your rankings
What
say.
am I
Do I
rankings
have
say?
Cam high right
Actually, Jason, you have Tyrod at 3 and Cam at 6. So
There you go.
you're on point. Mike, you have Cam at 3.
now? Do I?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
have Cam at 2. So I'm
I
on
like
the
him.
Cam side this week.
I like Cam a lot this week, and if we're talking rest of season, he's still in that 5 to 9 range for me, because he's going to have games, at least historically, he's had weeks where he has this run. He's had 2 30-plus point games in a row. He'll probably have another great one this week, and then he'll just have these clunkers that kill you.
It is true.
Greg
So-
Olsen's an auto start, obviously. He had a
Yes.
huge week last week. I had been trying to trade for him, trying to send Eifert for him in different leagues.
And this is why we talk about targets.
Yep.
That if the targets are there, the production will be there.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. You have to pay attention to that because it will return to the mean, so to speak, if you
Yes.
have enough targets. I would not be surprised if Carolina keeps winning games that they bring in another wide receiver option. So just pay attention. Free agent wide receivers out there, just be looking for that. I think Devin Funchess' role will increase. But this it gives Cam Newton a lot of fantasy credit because he has no real weapons outside of Olsen, and he's still producing at a great clip. So,
And
you know,
Jonathan Stewart did not practice the past couple days. He's got a bruise on his shin, and so this is just something to watch. We think that he's going to play, and the matchup is delicious.
yeah,
to
I'm
say the
definitely
least.
starting Stewart if he's in the lineup. This is the 3rd straight week he didn't practice or
If-
was limited in practice 2
If
days.
he's out, do you start?
No.
No, you don't start anyone. And if you had to, who would it be?
Whitaker.
Yeah, I think it would be Fozzie for me
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Artis Payne was actually active for the first time last week, and I think he had 1 carry or something like that. So he doesn't seem like he's going to be handed the Thomas Rawls opportunity right away.